MIA Anderson was like many other 19-year-olds, full of dreams, anxious about the future, and excited to step into adulthood. She had just moved into her dorm at Millstone University, a small but respected liberal arts school nestled in the suburbs of Connecticut. It was a crisp August morning when her parents helped carry boxes up 3 flights of stairs to her room, teasing her about how many books she'd packed. Her mother, Diane, paused at the doorway before leaving. She looked at MIA, her only child, with a softness in her eyes. "Text me every night, even if it's just an emoji," she said with a nervous laugh. MIA rolled her eyes playfully and promised she would. MIA was sociable, but introverted when it came to relationships. She was cautious about dating, having only had one serious boyfriend back in high school. At Millstone, she wanted to focus on her major in journalism and maybe join the school's investigative writing club. But late at night, like many college students, she scrolled through apps, Instagram, TikTok, and sometimes dating apps like ChatSwipe. That's where she first met him. His name was Jaden_98. He had tousled dark hair, piercing green eyes, and a smile that felt genuine. His bio read, "Just a guy who loves hiking, true crime podcasts, and photography." It mirrored Mia's interests so closely it was almost uncanny. They started chatting. First casually, what classes they were taking, favorite books, memes. But Jaden was clever. He made her feel heard. He remembered tiny details about her life. He sent playlists that matched her moods. Within 2 weeks, MIA told her roommate Sarah that she was really starting to like him. He always had an excuse not to video chat. "My phone camera's cracked," or "I look awful today," or "let's just meet in person soon instead." MIA shrugged it off. Then came the Friday before fall break. MIA told Sarah she was meeting Jaden in person. "Just for coffee," she said, brushing off concerns. Sarah, half watching Netflix, barely registered the comment. That night, MIA never returned. Her phone was found 2 days later, discarded on a hiking trail just outside town. The final text she had sent wasn't to her mom, her roommate, or any friend. It was a single word to a private contact saved only as emergency. The word was, "run." Behind the smiling profile picture and charming texts of Jaden_98 was a man named Travis Holt, 34 years old, unemployed, living in his mother's basement in a quiet town just 40 minutes from Millstone. Travis wasn't a tech genius, but he was patient and obsessed. He had spent years studying how to make women trust him online. Fake profiles, AI-edited selfies, carefully researched bias tailored to specific demographics. He followed college forums, joined student Facebook groups under aliases, and even read articles on generational slang just to better impersonate someone younger. He had dozens of active profiles across platforms. He changed names, faces, and interests like outfits. But they all had one thing in common. They hunted emotionally vulnerable women who seemed cautious but lonely. MIA was his latest obsession. He had stalked her Instagram for weeks before matching with her. He knew she had a love for literature, that she posted quotes from investigative reporters, and that she often shared her favorite trails from back home. Everything he said to her was calculated. The music playlists, compiled from songs she had liked on Spotify. The hiking references, inspired by a tagged photo she once shared from a nature reserve. Even his mention of true crime podcasts. That was taken directly from her IG story highlights. He wasn't interested in love or companionship. For Travis, it was about control, about outsmarting people, about the thrill of leading someone into his web without them realizing until it was too late. When MIA agreed to meet, Travis felt something snap into place. He chose the location, a quiet coffee shop near a hiking trail, with just enough foot traffic to feel safe but remote enough for an abduction to go unnoticed. The day of the meeting, he rented a car under a fake ID, wore hiking gear to blend in, and disabled the GPS on his burner phone. His plan was tight. He had rehearsed it. What he hadn't planned on, what truly caught him off guard, was Mia's intuition. According to timeline reconstructions, the moment she stepped into the coffee shop, she realized something was wrong. He didn't look exactly like the photo. His smile didn't match the energy she remembered from their chats. Something felt off. She told him she needed to use the restroom. That's when she sent the text. "Run." But by then, it was already too late. It was 5:42 p.m. when MIA Anderson's final text message was sent. The recipient was a contact labeled emergency, a custom shortcut MIA had created during high school after attending a digital safety workshop. It was linked to her mom's and her best friend Sarah's phones. The message, just 3 letters, run, broke through the silence like a scream no one could hear. Mia's mother Diane received it first. She was folding laundry when her phone vibrated. Confused, she opened the text and froze. Her gut twisted. She immediately called MIA. No answer. She called again. Nothing. Panic bloomed. She called Sarah, who confirmed MIA had gone out hours ago to meet Jaden. She didn't know where. The phone's location couldn't be traced. MIA had turned off her location services earlier that day, likely at Travis's request. But the text, this digital breadcrumb, was the only piece of real-time evidence they had. Police were contacted, and a missing person alert was issued within 2 hours. By midnight, a search was underway. Mia's phone was found near the start of Quarry Ridge Trail, a lightly trafficked path popular with local hikers. It had no fingerprints other than hers. The battery was nearly dead. The last active ping was at 5:46 p.m., just minutes after the text had been sent. Surveillance footage from the nearby coffee shop captured MIA leaving in a hurry. Behind her, a man in hiking gear followed, but he kept his distance. The footage was blurry, but facial recognition later identified the man as someone who didn't exist in university records. What chilled investigators the most was the expression on Mia's face as she exited the shop. She looked terrified, but controlled. Determined. Like someone who had just realized their entire world had turned inside out. The case quickly went national. Hashtags like #FindMIA and #HerLastWordRun began trending on Twitter. True crime forums lit up with speculation. TikTok users began retracing her final moments. Amateur sleuths analyzed the coffee shop footage frame by frame. But while the world watched and waited, somewhere in the dense woods outside Millstone, a predator led his prey deeper into darkness. Would you have noticed the signs? Every like, every message, every you too, that felt like a connection, was a calculated step in Travis Holt's digital hunt. In the next part of Mia's story, we uncover the terrifying clues she left behind, the GPS tricks used by her killer, and how police raced to catch a man who thought he had covered every digital footprint. The message run would haunt everyone who knew MIA, 3 letters that carried more weight than 1,000 screams. In the hours following her disappearance, police, family, and friends clung to that final digital clue like a lifeline. It wasn't just a word. It was a signal, a last breath of defiance from a girl who sensed danger too late. Mia's roommate, Kelsey, was the first to raise the alarm. When MIA didn't return that night and didn't answer texts or calls the next morning, Kelsey's gut instinct kicked in. She contacted campus security and Mia's parents. Within hours, a missing person report was filed. The investigators started where MIA had ended, her phone. Although the device itself was never recovered, it had synced intermittently to Wi-Fi networks. Forensic teams were able to retrieve fragments of her messages and app activity. What they found chilled them. In the hours leading up to her disappearance, MIA had sent brief, seemingly casual updates to Kelsey. He seems normal LOL. We're grabbing coffee first. He's cuter than his pics. Then, abruptly, radio silence. And then finally, hours later, that terrifying message, run. Using geolocation metadata from her app usage and timestamps from traffic cameras, authorities were able to trace Mia's last known movements. She had met Travis, posing as Jaden, outside a coffee shop near campus. Surveillance footage showed her entering his vehicle voluntarily. But what happened next was a mystery. A license plate reader had captured Travis's car leaving the city limits and heading toward a rural area known for its abandoned farmhouses. From there, the digital trail became murkier. His phone had been turned off. Mia's signal vanished. Meanwhile, Kelsey scoured Mia's social accounts for any clues. In doing so, she uncovered the online flirtation between MIA and Jaden_98. Kelsey handed everything over to police, including screenshots MIA had once sent her in passing. Those trivial exchanges became the breadcrumbs that guided investigators forward. Digital forensics experts dug into Jaden_98 and cross-referenced his photos with reverse image search tools. They weren't real. The boy in the photos was a minor celebrity from Canada with no connection to the account. It was a fake identity, crafted with precision. The IP address behind the messages traced back to an apartment complex miles away from Mia's college. Surveillance footage there revealed someone matching Travis's description entering and exiting at odd hours. As detectives dug deeper, they realized this wasn't Travis's first attempt. His online profiles, now uncovered through search warrants, revealed multiple conversations with other young women. The manipulation was consistent: compliments, shared interests, sympathy for being misunderstood, and pressure to meet in person. But MIA was the first to vanish. Investigators canvassed the rural area where Travis's car was last seen. They used cadaver dogs, drones, and heat mapping technology. Nothing. It was as though MIA had evaporated into the fields. Then, 2 weeks later, a break came in the most unexpected way. A farmer, checking his equipment near a defunct irrigation pump, found a torn piece of fabric snagged on barbed wire. It looked like part of a hoodie, bright yellow, with a distinct sunflower pattern. Mia's parents confirmed it had belonged to her. That clue re-energized the search. Authorities focused on a cluster of derelict buildings nearby. Inside one, they found signs of recent human activity: discarded fast food containers, empty water bottles, cigarette butts. DNA tests later confirmed Travis had been there. But MIA was still missing. In the same building, scratched into a wooden beam in faint but visible letters, was a single word: help. It was unclear if MIA had etched it herself, but it struck investigators as more than coincidence. Back at headquarters, the task force worked around the clock. Digital analysts compiled every online footprint Travis had left. They built a psychological profile, consulted behavioral experts, and even brought in criminal profilers from the FBI. Everything pointed to one conclusion: MIA hadn't been randomly chosen. She was targeted, and she was likely still alive when she sent that message. The search intensified. The public, now gripped by the chilling details, joined in. Volunteers combed the rural areas. Online communities tracked Travis's known aliases, hunting for others he might have contacted. The digital trail was slowly knitting a map: one message, one breadcrumb, one heartbeat at a time. And at the center of it all was that last, desperate word: run. A predator's playbook where we unravel the disturbing psychology and methods behind Travis's manipulation, and how many others he may have been targeting. If you're finding this case as haunting and important as we do, please like, share, and subscribe to True Crime Hub. Let Mia's story be a warning, a call for vigilance, and a fight for justice. Travis Bellamy wasn't always a predator. Born into a troubled household filled with emotional neglect and subtle psychological abuse, his descent into darkness started early. By high school, he had begun obsessively studying manipulation techniques, reading books on persuasion, and watching videos on psychological control. After a brief stint in community college where he was expelled for stalking a female classmate, Travis retreated into the anonymity of the internet. There, he thrived. He crafted fake profiles and personas, pretending to be who he wasn't: a charming college guy, a misunderstood artist, a shy but sensitive teen. He targeted vulnerabilities: lonely girls, insecure teens, or trauma survivors. MIA, with her open heart and trusting nature, was a bullseye. Travis studied her social media for weeks. He noted what she liked, when she posted, who she interacted with. He mirrored her interests, dropped casual references to favorite shows, and used familiar slang to build comfort. His tone was always respectful, never aggressive. He played the long game. Once he built rapport, he started isolating her, suggesting that her friends might not truly understand her, that he was the only one who got her. MIA began pulling away from friends. Not drastically, but enough. The warehouse location was deliberately chosen. Travis had scoped it out months in advance. Its lack of foot traffic, its isolation, and its absence of working security cameras made it ideal for his purpose. What he hadn't anticipated was Mia's internal alarm. Something, perhaps his sudden change in tone, or the eerie silence of the location, triggered her instincts. Her heart rate spiked. She turned. She ran. But it was too late. Travis tackled her from behind, dragged her inside, and smashed her smartwatch against the concrete floor. What happened next remained largely speculative, but blood found on site suggested a violent struggle. MIA had fought hard. Travis fled that night, taking her phone and smartwatch, intending to destroy them. He vanished into the online world once again. But this time, detectives were on his tail. Detectives worked swiftly to build a case around Travis. They tracked his burner phone history, internet usage, and financial activity. He hadn't used his real identity in months, but his digital breadcrumbs told a story. The break came from a delivery receipt. A hoodie, purchased online, matched the one seen in the tire shop surveillance footage. Though bought under a fake name, the shipping address led to a storage unit registered to Travis's uncle. Inside, investigators found a disturbing collection: printed photos of young women, some candid, some clearly taken without their knowledge. A map of the city with various warehouses circled, and a hidden folder on a USB drive labeled experiments. The contents chilled the team: journals, grooming guides, and detailed notes on psychological control. Each page catalogued how long it took to gain a target's trust. Mia's name appeared in one file, subject 4. Trust established in 29 days. Police launched a nationwide manhunt. Travis was placed on the FBI's wanted list. Tips poured in. Some claimed he was seen boarding a bus to Florida. Others said he was hiding out in the mountains of Colorado. But no sighting panned out, until one desperate mistake. A teenager in Nevada reported that someone calling himself Jaden_98 had just messaged her online. The language, the emojis, the grooming tactics, it was all the same. Undercover agents posed as a 17-year-old girl and began baiting Travis. He took the bait. After several days of conversation, he agreed to meet. He was arrested on sight, no resistance, no emotion. Just a chilling smirk as they cuffed him. In the interrogation room, Travis was silent for hours. He requested coffee, refused a lawyer, and stared at the ceiling. When detectives finally confronted him with the evidence, Mia's smartwatch data, the surveillance footage, the USB journal, he smiled and said, "She wasn't supposed to run. She ruined everything." His confession was as clinical as it was cold. He described how MIA was different, more resistant than his previous targets. He admitted to dragging her inside the warehouse and striking her after she tried to flee. When asked where Mia's body was, Travis tilted his head. "Gone," he said. "You'll never find her." Despite extensive searches and cadaver dogs scouring the surrounding forests, Mia's remains were never recovered. Her case was ruled a homicide based on the overwhelming forensic and circumstantial evidence. In court, Travis showed no remorse. He often doodled on his notepad during testimony and occasionally smiled when Mia's photos were shown. The jury took less than 4 hours to find him guilty on all charges: kidnapping, murder, and obstruction of justice. He was sentenced to life without parole. Mia's parents wept, holding hands tightly, when the verdict was read. They would never see their daughter again, but they vowed to ensure her story would help save others. The campaign they launched, #HerLastWordIUN, went viral, raising awareness about online grooming, digital red flags, and the importance of trusting your instincts. Mia's last word wasn't just a cry for help. It was a message to all of us. The trial of Travis Dalton became a national sensation, a true crime saga that captivated millions. The courtroom buzzed with reporters, social media influencers, and people seeking justice, not just for MIA Anderson, but for the countless others preyed upon by digital predators. Mia's family sat front row, a picture of strength and devastation. Prosecutors laid out the facts with surgical precision. They presented a damning digital trail: chat logs, GPS data, deleted files recovered from Travis's hard drive. The jury saw how Travis meticulously crafted his false identity, targeting vulnerable girls like MIA. His search history included terms like how to erase location data and how long does it take to die from asphyxiation. Then came the recovered body cam footage from the arrest. Travis's blank expression chilled the jury to the bone. When asked why he did it, his voice was flat. She was too nosy. "I told her to shut up." Mia's mother took the stand. Her voice trembled but never broke. "My daughter was more than a victim," she told the courtroom. "She was kind. She was strong. And even in her final moments, she warned someone. That's who she was." When the defense tried to argue Travis's troubled childhood as a mitigating factor, the courtroom erupted in tension. The prosecutor reminded everyone that many people grow up in hardship without turning into killers. "This wasn't impulsive. This was engineered," he said. In the months following the trial, Mia's story resonated across the country. Advocacy groups used her name in campaigns about digital safety and predatory behavior online. Schools adopted digital literacy programs. New legislation called Mia's Law passed in 3 states, enforcing stricter age verification and better content moderation on dating apps. Her family established the MIA Anderson Foundation, which offered counseling services to victims of digital abuse and trained law enforcement in cybercrime detection. Mia's best friend Lily became an activist, touring schools to talk about online red flags. But healing wasn't linear. Mia's parents struggled with anniversaries. Every ping of a phone, every sunset that reminded them of Mia's favorite hour, it brought fresh waves of grief. Still, They found solace in the knowledge that Mia's story was saving others. Meanwhile, Travis's name faded into obscurity, exactly where it belonged. Run. 2 letters. 1 word. It was Mia's final act of bravery, a desperate attempt to save others even as she knew her fate. That text message saved Lily's life and sparked an investigation that brought a monster to justice. True crime is often told through the lens of darkness. But in Mia's story, the light was never extinguished. Her voice, her instincts, her courage, they echoed beyond that single word. Run became more than a text. It became a warning, a message, a legacy. For every viewer watching this story on True Crime Hub, take this with you. Stay vigilant online. Listen to your instincts. Report suspicious behavior. And if someone you love sends you a message like run, don't wait. Act. Thank you for watching. If Mia's story moved you, please like, subscribe, and share to raise awareness. You never know who it might help. Stay safe and stay aware. This is True Crime Hub, where every story has a lesson.